Taking you back to the conversation we were having before that with the CEO of the Institute of Directors in South Africa, Professor Parmi Natesan, thank you so much for staying on the line to continue this conversation. You just heard what the Finance Minister had to say as well. Any reaction to that?
Yeah, I think the new ministers have a big task on their hand, whichever portfolio they're leading. And we hope that what the President said the other day, and I'm going to read his words, he said, we intend appointing people who are committed, capable, hardworking, and also have integrity. And if that is the case in substance, then we should see progress.
Yeah, and you've been calling for the professionalisation in the public sphere for some time now. And now when you look at the 7th administration and this cabinet, albeit bloated, and you see that qualifications of some of our ministers and deputy ministers, what do you think of that? Because only 3 of them have a matric, only a matric, that being John Steenhuisen and, of course, Dean McPherson and Gayton McKenzie. And the rest of the members of this cabinet all have some sort of a graduate qualification.
Yeah, look, it's very important that we have people who have the necessary knowledge, skills, competence to lead these positions. Right? If you don't have this basic competence, how do you oversee an area where the people below you reporting to you, do you know what questions to ask them, how to interrogate, read reports, find the holes in what's being said, etc., so that we can find progress. So that's very critical. But apart from competence, the other big thing that's very critical and necessary is that people have the necessary moral compass, and that talks to the ethics and integrity part, right? That they're going to do the right thing for the country, not necessarily for themselves, and that's equally critical. Now, obviously, it's good that, as you may.
Unfortunately, it seems we've lost that connection with Professor Natesan. Hopefully, we can reconnect and hear more of what that institution has to say. Professor Natesan, I'm told you're back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, yes, you can finish that thought. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying, I think what's equally important to people having qualifications is that they also have the necessary professional affiliations. So, for example, the IoDSA is a professional body for directors, but it's a voluntary professional body for directors. And therefore, not all directors belong to the IoD. But if the members of cabinet and the boards that they're appointing, etc., at least belong to professional bodies, they can be held accountable in that manner.
Yeah. We also heard earlier from our reporter who had been able to grab the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, who was saying, look, he's a very happy man right now. Those were his words, in fact. He said it was a long, difficult and complicated but satisfying journey to get to this point with this composition of this cabinet that we have right now. The next 100 days are going to be very crucial indeed. What are you expecting to see?
I think the President referred to their meeting next week sometime, I think it is, to set forward the sort of goals and what they intend to achieve. I think that's going to be critical. I equate the President as sort of the CEO of South Africa, Inc., if you want to call it that, and the ministers, the executive team, and each of them is in charge of a very important section of this business, if you want to call it that. And it's therefore critical that they set goals and what we call key performance indicators, targets for themselves, because every one of these ministries has a budget allocated to them, and therefore they should have very clear deliverables of what we need to see at the end with that budget being used properly for the purpose it's set out. And I think that's going to be key, is just setting the priorities and then making sure that we move forward with people who are going to actively implement what's planned and see progress.
A big factor as well, what we were talking about, of course, the country's purse. The Finance Department has retained Minister Enoch Godongwana. We just heard him on our channel now a few minutes ago while we were having this conversation, saying, look, he's very excited to be working with the 2 young men who will be his deputies as well, referring to David Masondo as well as Asho Sarapin from the DA, also kind of making a joke here and there to say, look, he's going to have to play the middleman here, the middle ground, because they do have quite opposing views when it comes to that. Just before I let you go, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it goes back to the point of having diversity and having multiple people involved. I think it only can benefit us as a country.
Professor Natesan, thank you so much for joining us on Daytime Update.